Hello, this is my presentation on SDG strategies and projects that will be delivered in Alexandria University International Water Symposium that will take place from 6 to 7 September 2022. The whole idea is a review of Egyptian mega projects that considers its relation to Sustainable Development Goals and Egypt Strategy 2030. I will start with a quick review of the inner structure of both the SDGs and strategy, and follow that by a closer look at selected mega projects, showing main features, location, and how they fit into the SDGs and strategy perspectives. Special attention is given, of course, to water projects. After reviewing the projects, I will make a quick comparison between the articulation of SDGs strategy, and I will add Africa Agenda 2063 to give the presentation a regional perspective. The SDGs, as everybody knows, are 17, covering prosperity of human beings on the globe, including poverty, hunger, health, education, gender equality, water, energy, economy, innovation, inequalities, sustainable cities, consumption and production, climate change, life below water and on land, peace, and finally, partnerships. The inner structure of goals, targets, and indicators are shown using this matryoshka, which is a Russian doll, that shows that the goal has inside it targets, and the targets has indicators inside. They are on 3 levels. To count them, we have 17 goals, as we have seen, and the targets are 169, and the indicators, the latest number is 242. This sunburst chart shows the numbers where SDGs targets are shown in the inside circle and indicators in the outside circle in numbers. With respect to Egypt strategy 2030, which has the same target here as the SDGs, we start with dimensions. We have 3 dimensions: social, environmental, and economic. And again, I look into the hierarchy in terms of dimensions, pillars, indicators, and projects. Using the same matryoshka, we found that inside dimensions we have 10 pillars and then 169 indicators and many projects. These projects are the Egyptian mega projects. As you can see how the pillars are distributed among the 3 dimensions: 4 for economic, 4 for social, and 2 for environmental. Using the sunburst chart again to show the hierarchy in terms of titles and numbers, and I like to draw your attention that for some reason the Egyptian strategy gives a lot of special attention to education. Counting again, we have 3 dimensions, 10 pillars, 169 indicators, and 174 projects. Here, we move after the definition of the SDGs in terms of hierarchy and the definition of strategy to speak about projects. We will start with an important initiative, which is called the Decent Life Initiative. And as you can see from the advertisement here, the Sustainable Development Goals appears in the banner with a photograph of these beautiful Egyptian faces. It has pillars also, and the pillars cover housing, infrastructure, medical services, educational services, economic empowerment, social service, interventions and environmental interventions. As you can see, they cover a lot of areas. This is why this photograph shows different things, starting from electricity, roads, sports, housing, healthcare, irrigation, education, natural gas, governmental services, and we give some special attention to water projects in terms of potable water and sanitation. Again, going back to the Matryoshka, we will find that we look at the initiative from the pillar section. Why? Because the pillar is as wide as the pillars of the initiative. And this red arrows shows overlap of the pillars of the initiatives with the pillars of the strategy, covering economic development, health, education and training, culture, and environment. But if we go to SDGs, we will find that we cannot go to targets because of the too many goals involved. We go to the goal, and then we will see that the initiatives, the Decent Life initiatives, covers big number of the SDGs, including SDG 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 16. And these, of course, are my own choices. And the graph, as you can see, shows a blue column and an orange column. The blue is a count of the targets, and the orange is a count of the indicators. We go from the initiative of Decent Life to the new administrative capital, a beautiful photograph of the huge buildings, including the iconic tower in the middle. And then, because it's a one project, we look at it from the project division here. We go here, we have a very long list of projects. The count is 174, and number 2 is the new administrative capital. I use the sunburst graph again to see the hierarchy and show you that the administrative capital is project number 2 out of the 77 projects listed under economic development. We go to SDGs. Here we refer to targets and indicators because they are connected together in terms of even articulation, because indicator is how the target could be satisfied. Here, in terms of targets and indicators, it is goal number 11, related to sustainable cities and communities. And we see in the definition of target 11.2 and indicator 11.2.1, it tells provide access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport systems for all. By the way, I choose only one example. If you look at the rest of the indicators and targets, you may find other relevant sentences. But here, because we talk about transport, I go to the transport inside the new administrative capital. This graph in Arabic, but it shows how transport means from even walking and cycling to the LRT, light rain transit, that means of transit, including also smart bus, has a relation to the population density in the residential areas. And in the middle, you will find the Green River, which is a very important feature of the, I'm using my mouse here to indicate this. Speaking of transportation, we go from means of transportation inside the new capital into the developing national railway railway network, another promising project in Egypt, and its importance comes from this slide here. It's an old as 312 BC. Rome's most enduring contribution to history is their roads, which all led back to Rome, as they say. A vast interconnected network spanning around 322,000 kilometers. This shows that these transportation means are the development arteries of all the projects, whatever they are. Here shows a network of transportation around Cairo, showing the ring road, the River Nile, and famous locations around Cairo. Egyptians, by the way, use public transportation vehicles and run by the government, and they use microbuses run by the private sector. However, these things will change in the new republic. Why? Because Egyptians will use monorail, will use light rail transit that we mentioned before. They will use bus rapid transit, and they'll use high-speed trains. If some of you don't know what are these new modes of transportation, I compiled these photographs of monorail, LRT, BRT, and high-speed trains. This is how elaborate the transportation network is. And I like to mention this transportation network takes into consideration distant places in Egypt and also important ports along the Red Sea and the Mediterranean Sea, even going as far as Marsa Matruh, very close to the Libyan borders. Here is a photograph of the locomotive, and this particular project is number 75 in the list of 77 projects, and it says developing national railway networks. This is a sunburst chart that shows the location of the project in the strategy, and it has to do with industry, innovation, and infrastructure, and it is connected to SDG number 9. And this is how it is articulated. Develop quality, reliable, sustainable, and resilient infrastructure, including regional and trans-border infrastructure, and in the indicator, passenger and freight volumes by mode of transport. Speaking of transport, it's not only restricted to roads, but it has to do with maritime and river transport, because we have the River Nile and we have 3,200 kilometers of shores along the Mediterranean and the Red Sea. This is a list of the Egyptian ports. There are too many. Not all of them are known to most of us. And the red icons here shows the important ones like Ain al-Sukhna, Dekhila, Alexandria, Hurghada, Aqaba. In addition to the ports, we have the Suez Canal and the new Suez Canal, which improves navigation along this vital path for transport. Another project that may not be known by most of you is called the VicMed project. It's an Egyptian initiative to help the Nile Basin countries, and it's called VicMed because it's a navigational route that connects the Mediterranean Sea to Lake Victoria, as you can see in the map. The red circle here I did because Egyptian scientists, especially in the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, are doing research around the route of the VicMed project, and this is an example of the study of navigation bottlenecks along the Bietta branch using field survey and three-dimensional simulation models. The River Nile itself has different reaches divided by the major barrages, starting from High Aswan Dam, going through Esna Barrage, Naga Hammadi Barrage, Asyut Barrage, Delta Barrage, and for the two branches, Damietta and Rosetta. We move from transportation into real water projects and in the new republic, and I'm going to speak about 4 of them: the new Delta, aquaculture, Bahr al-Bahr treatment plant, and canal lining. The new Delta was announced in 2021, considered the largest in the history of Egyptian agricultural project. Is expected to be more than 2 million acres. Acres is English units, but it's very close to feddans, and it will contribute to job provision for many Egyptians, about 5 million of them. And then this is where it's located. Most of the projects I'm going to show, there is a map that shows where the project is located on the Egyptian map. Here you can see that the study area along the Daba axis, and this is a new Delta, including a project called Egypt Future. Because it is agriculture, it fits into the Zero Hunger SDG number 2. The second project is Ghalioun Fish Farms. Egyptians are eating a lot of fish from fish farms, as you will see soon. And it embarks on constructing the largest fish farm in the Middle East. And the National Fish Farming Project is to build an area spanning 2,750 feddans, costing about 1.7 billion Egyptian pounds. And Egypt in aquaculture ranks number 7 in the world. Here is the map of Ghalioun Fish Farm in the Kafr Sheikh Governorate. As you can see, it's located in Birket Ghalioun. This is a photograph of the fish farm. And I want to mention that in Egypt there are a lot of fish farms. Most of them are owned by private sector. And here is a map that shows where fish farming is taking place. I will use my mouse to read. I think, yeah. Here is in Kafr Sheikh. They have the highest value of production. This is data of 2019, which is 865,000 tons per year. The lowest, in my opinion, is some governorates, they don't produce fish farms. Here is the Red Sea Governorate, and they produce only 29,000 tons per year. In addition to that, I used this very recent data. This is the latest released for fish production in Egypt 2020 report, and it shows that the natural fisheries, they don't improve much, but what improves very clear in the map is the fish farms here. The highest production of the fish farms is 1,600,000 tons, where the average production for the natural fisheries is about 380,000 tons. Because it belongs to hunger, because it is food, and it fits into SDG number 2. The third project is Bahr al-Bahr treatment plant, and it's one of the largest wastewater treatment. It has 3 Guinness Book of Records prizes, and it's located 10 kilometers south of Port Said tunnels in Sinai, 17 kilometers east of El Kantara city, as you will see the map right now. It's considered one of the most important projects to develop Sinai Peninsula, The daily discharge is 5.6 million cubic meters, which is equivalent to about 2 billion cubic meters per year. And it is used to cultivate 400,000 fiddans in Sinai. This is the map itself, and this is the treatment plant, Bahr al-Bakr. But Bahr al-Bakr is not the only treatment plant. We have Mahsama, which is produces about 2 million cubic meters per day, and also another one called El Hammam on the Dab'a axis, and this will be even more than the Bahr al-Bakr plant, and it will discharge 7.5 million cubic meters per day. This is Bahr al-Bakr drain, the longest in Egypt, and this is the location of the plant after you cross the Suez Canal. This is a map of the treatment plant using ozone technology, and it belongs to clean water and sanitation goal number 6. Canal lighting is another impressive project, and the first phase that will end in 2022 and worth 18 billion Egyptian pounds is to line 7,000 kilometers of canals. Lining canals will enhance water management and distribution, ensure delivery of water to ends of canals, but I have a comprehensive list I'm going to show you now, but this particular map I showed to show the intricacy of the networks of canals and drains in the delta. And these spots with different colors are the directorates of canals, irrigation, and drainage. Of course, they overlap with the administrative borders of the governorates. And this some photographs that showing before and after of lining. You can see how developed. And I added this this slide to show a different use of canal lining for recreation by young swimmers here. This is a list I showed you. It shows a lot of benefits like controlling water logging and eliminating effect of scouring in the canal bed and other disadvantages. But this is not the whole story. If you look into literature, you find that some scholars also list some disadvantages of canal lighting, like difficulties for repairing and too much time to complete the project work. This is the whole water projects of canal lighting belongs to SDG number 6 for clean water and sanitation. Then we go to another promising project. We have the Egyptian government released recently a strategy for desalination in Egypt to meet a target in 2050. Currently, we have 82 desalination plants with combined capacity of 917,000 cubic meters per day. But the new 14 capacity in the strategy, the facilities in the strategy, will increase the total capacity of desalination to be around 1.4 million cubic meters per day. This is a photograph of the inside of one of the desalination plants. And again, this map here shows that most of the desalination of the existing projects are located in Matruh Governorate and even in Suez Governorate with production of 286,000 in Suez Governorate, and the number here is 302,000. But when we go to the under construction project, the attention is here, is about in Port Said Governorate. It will produce 170,000 cubic meters per day, and the smallest here is in in the Kahliya Governorate because it is on the Mediterranean Sea. The production is 40,000 in the new Mansoura project. And this belongs to sustainable cities and communities because most of the desalinated water goes for potable water and uses on governorates on the Mediterranean and Red Sea. The last part of my presentation is to connect the SDGs strategies and add something new, which is Africa. It's called Africa Agenda 2063, and the reason for the 2063 that is historical because the Organization of African Unity was established in 1963. Then this document was released in 2013, and Agenda 2063 is a collective vision and roadmap for the next 50 years. Therefore, African plans goes in 50 years, not 15 like the SDGs. Therefore, it starts 1963, then goes to 2013 and ends up in 2063. Here, the articulation is different. We have, instead of having goals or dimensions or pillars, we have something called aspirations. And there are 7 aspirations articulated, as you can see here. It is very generic statements, and the document itself is not as structured as the SDGs or even the beautifully written agenda. I made this comparison to see the overlap between the subject because the 3 things, the SDGs and the strategy and the agenda of Africa, they have the same generic objectives. Therefore, I used color coding to show the overlap in areas of health, energy, justice, culture, and urban development. I even made more exercise by counting the words used to describe the SDG and see the occurrence in the strategy and in Africa. As you can see, if you count the words that attention is given in the strategy, as I mentioned in the beginning of the lecture, is for education. It has been mentioned 46 times. For Africa also, just for similarity, education also has the biggest number of occurrence mentioned by gender equality, 16. But in Egypt, number 2 in the counting is innovation, which is 34 here. I also use this graph to show the same thing in the previous table, but in a clustered bar chart, showing that the 3 most important things in the strategy is health, education, and innovation. And for the Africa agenda, the 3 most important things are education, gender, and climate. I conclude my presentation by summarizing what I just covered. The Egyptian mega projects were reviewed, looking through the lenses of Sustainable Development Goals and Egypt Strategy 2030. Water projects, because of my specialization, were given special attention due to the coming Cairo Water Week, which is a yearly function, water function in Egypt, organized by the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, and the very famous Conference of Parties 27 that will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh in November. And I added to my general review Africa Agenda 2063 and compare it to both the strategy and the SDG to give my presentation a regional dimension. Thank you.